By myself. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Any questions on the agenda? Any questions on the consent agenda?
Could I ask about the voluntary termination of the contract? Are we going to be able to replace those?
That's a good question. Mr. Lee, tell us where we are currently.
These 4 routes were already assigned to contractors. They could not find drivers to drive those routes. They've been covering those routes all year with 1 bus instead of 2. So the mileage is about the same. And we've got it worked down to where there's not any children late. So we gave them 30 days to fill their driver or turn the routes back in. They could not fill them, so they've turned them. So we're going to continue to cover the routes the way we are presently.
Are we fully staffed in the transportation department?
Are you talking about by bus drivers, or are you talking about the department here at central office?
Bus drivers.
No, ma'am. With these 4 terminations, we still have we have 2 routes that are unfilled that we're trying to get filled. And we also have 1 route that we have not offered yet because we don't want to offer it till we get the other 2 filled. So the answer to your question is we have 3 routes that with these 4 terminations that will remain unfilled at this time.
Is there anything as a board that we can do to help get your bench built back up and maybe have a reserve or 2?
We've had that in the past that our contractors are feeling the pinch. They're having trouble getting drivers. Some of their drivers are, for lack of a better term, are aging themselves out. We do have some drivers at this time that are going through the process to get trained and to get their certifications. And once they come on board, then we will have a few. But it's a issue throughout all school districts at this time trying to find bus drivers.
I'm sure. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Any other questions on the consent agenda? Okay, no visitors. Spotlight tomorrow night. Recognition will be tomorrow night. Okay, number 9.
All right, number 9 is the Sle Extended Contract found on tab 2. The Sle Department will be conducting an after-school extended day program at Smyrna High School funded completely by Title III funds. These funds will provide 1 bilingual educational assistant extended contract. Schedule for the extended school day will run for both semesters, Monday through Wednesday from 3:45 to 6:15. The EA will receive $21 per hour paid by Title III funds. The Sle Department uses Title III funds to develop curriculum, supports, and aids. The 2 extended contracts are being presented for time spent in curriculum development. Now, this is not the first year we've done this. And give us a little update, Dr. Sullivan, on how effective this has been.
Yes, sir. So last year we had 20 students participate in this, so these are our own students. And of those 20, all 100% graduated. So this year we have an enrollment of 16, and we're expecting that same exact thing. And usually they're working on either bridge math or one of our English courses that we need them to finish for graduation.
Okay. Any questions on that?
And that's Smyrna High School is the only school that we're offering that?
Right now, yes, ma'am, because those are Smyrna High School staff that are offering that.
Okay.
Okay. Number 10.
All right, number 10, a contractual agreement with Ripple Effects, a whole spectrum learning system found on tab 3. The contract with Ripple Effects is for addressing behavior problems and underlying risks. This purchase is for devices per school and 50 licenses for pre-K, K, and first grade. It is evidence-based and research-based. It's a social emotional learning tool. The total cost not to exceed $98,900 during the 2019-2020 school year with a 10% maintenance fee in the following years will be paid from required allocations from IDEA disproportional funds. As y'all recall, the disproportional funds was required due to the discrepancy, or actually the discipline actions taken on students with disabilities, African Americans, compared to other. This is part of that, what we're trying to do to address the concerns.
Any questions?
What devices will you be purchasing?
So I don't think we have to purchase any additional devices. We already have those devices in place, but the license can be accessed through two devices per school, and any student grades pre-K through 12 can use them. The 50 additional licenses for pre-K and K and 1 are a part of that bundle deal.
Do you know what data they're collecting when they do those programs?
I just know that they help behavior specialists navigate how kids are answering the scenario, so they can kind of process with the student how they are making decisions for those certain scenarios in the social emotional learning.
Have you been through the training course?
I have not.
How often have we been using this program?
We have not been using it yet. Our school social workers have been looking into this program, and other systems have used this program with student success.
Did we know some other systems that have used this program?
I know Williamson has used it in the past. There's probably others that my school social workers could comment on, but I know that Williamson did in the past.
Anyone else? Okay, number 11.
All right, number 11, Redstone Federal Credit Union Affinity Agreement. Redstone Federal Credit Union has requested to enter into an agreement related to their Affinity card program. The program consists of Redstone Federal Credit Union issuing debit or credit cards with the logo of the school. If a customer uses the card on certain purchases, a percentage of the sale will be collected and paid monthly to the school. This agenda item is present for the board to learn about the program and decide whether it wishes to explore the program for future implementation. If so, final negotiated contract shall be brought forth to the board in formal approval. Is there someone from that wants to come up and speak on behalf of Redstone?
Board Director, thank you for having us out here. I'm Mike Panesi with Redstone Federal Credit Union. A couple things I want to clear up on that. There is a couple mentions in there. It does say debit or credit cards. This program is limited exclusively to debit cards. Also, one other mention on there around different types of transactions. It would be any transaction negotiated with a debit card. Give you guys a little bit of history about this. We've got, as we've been in the Rutherford County area, we've definitely made a big financial commitment to the schools. We're very proud to do that. In the last 3 years, we've committed over $21,350 to different extracurricular programs within the schools. So that's, schools are part of our major focus of give back in our community. Next year at this time, because we've been here before, we've talked about a schools program. We will have that school fully a credit union inside Blackman fully functioning, run by the students. Thank you again for your vote and support of that. So what we're talking about today is yet another way that we wish to give back in form of support to the schools. Let me give you a little insight on this. In Huntsville, Alabama, where we are based out of, we have a number of different schools programs that exist right now, like the one we were talking about with Blackman. And hand in hand with those programs down there, there is an Affinity debit card program that gives back to that school. So a couple of examples I can give of that are Hartselle High School. Has anybody heard of Hartselle High School in the greater Alabama area? There's a couple people that have. We began the program with them in November of 2017. Since that time, 213 cards have been issued with the Hartselle High School logo on it. And $25,467 have gone back to that school. So I know those of you guys that are thinking about funds and schools and different programs that could use a boost, this is a great way to do that. There are a number of different financial institutions across the country doing programs like this for schools in the form of Spirit cards or other things you may or may not have heard of. But we've had a lot of success in running this program for at least 4 years in the greater Huntsville area and wish to bring that here as well. Now, a lot of these cards, when we create a debit card with the high school in mind, there's two different ways that it's been done, either with the school district, so like a Rutherford County school, or for each individual high school in the district. Right now, we're just talking about Blackman. Of course, we'd be open to discussing any other ones in the future, but Blackman would be the start. What we found are when we have an Affinity debit card that is very specific to the school, like if it said Blackman Blaze debit card on it, people are more excited about having that in their wallet and knowing that without taking money out of their own pocket, they can just use that debit card when they go buy something, wherever it is, and 10 cents for every time they use that card goes directly to the school. That example I gave you with Hartselle High School shows how that can add up to a pretty good sum. And we're pretty confident that in our area here in Rutherford County, people would be a lot more supportive of this than even in northern Alabama. So we've got some better schools up here, I like to think. Do you guys have any questions about this program? Ms. Moore?
So we would open the opportunity for other schools to be able to take advantage of this, not just Blackman?
Of course. Part of the reason Blackman was the first one that we wanted to discuss is we have the turf field sponsorship that we've agreed to we're giving money over that period for that, and then the schools program. So it all kind of tied together. Sure. Was our viewpoint.
Yeah, and I know you got to start somewhere. I'm just thinking, if we had a high school that really started clamoring for it, I'd like to be able to see them take advantage of it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ultimately that would be our goal. Right now just keeping it simple to focus on Blackman to start.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What kind of profit would you, I know it's a guess, but with Blackman High School in the first year, what kind of money do you think that would generate?
Well, let me give you an example of one of the most recent schools. So Austin High School in Alabama started in January of 2019. They've only got 128 debit cards. They've realized a little bit over $2,200. Doesn't seem like a huge amount, but it starts. It's rolling. You go back to Hartselle, which was just 2 years prior, $25,000. It can add up. So a lot of it's the marketing that we would do, the push that we would do. Redstone, since we've been in this community, we've been getting a lot of attention. We've been really working hard to make people's lives better financially. We've actually brought on new membership in a pretty significant amount over the last 3 months, over 4,000 new memberships. We would position this card or any card that would support the schools as a card of choice or preferred card to any new member as that option. They do have options. Anybody who opens an account with us would have the option of this Affinity card or just a standard debit card.
If you issue the card, say with Blackman's logo on it or whatever, is that good from now on? Like in 20 years, if they still got that card, does the school still get something?
As long as we have a contractual agreement to be involved together in that program, yes. Once that program, if it were to be voted or canceled at any time, then that would stop.
Okay. So as long as you had something with Blackman, then 20 years from now, they could still be making money off that card.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is there a cost for us?
Zero cost. The cost is it's all through the credit union. I'll be very transparent and tell you how we're able to give this money back. So all financial institutions operate in a certain way with debit and credit cards. It's a way that banks and credit unions earn income through interchange fees. So yes, fees. Those fees are not charged by the people though. They are incurred from Visa. So any debit card, like the debit card you might have in your wallet, anytime you swipe that, the merchant, wherever you swipe that at, is, whether that's at O'Reilly's for an oil change, O'Reilly's pays an interchange fee to be able to accept that card. And some of that fee goes to the financial institution, some of it goes to Visa. So when I say 10 cents for every swipe would go to Blackman, that would come out of that interchange fee that would be between the bank or the credit union and the retailer. So no, if you have a Blackman card, it would cost you $0 up front, $0 period, no maintenance fee, nothing.
It was mainly not the individual, but us as Blackman as the.
Oh yes, no.
Because
Nope.
obviously there's going to be a lot of branding and things like that.
Right, no, there's no fees whatsoever involved with the school for that. Sorry for the misunderstanding.
No, that's okay. I wasn't clear.
Okay, no worries.
Anyone else?
In Alabama there, are those the only schools right now where you have this program at Austin and Hartsville, Alabama? Do you
We
it other
have
places?
Madison Academy, Hartsville High School, Lindsay Lane, which is a private school, Union Chapel High School, Decatur High School, Austin High School, and Madison City Schools.
Those are all in Alabama, is that right?
And Bob Jones High School as well. Yes.
Have you added credit cards to any of those?
Not credit cards. No, it's exclusively debit cards.
Okay. I'm just one person, but I'm just kind of telling you that if it's a credit card thing, if credit card goes on this, no, I wouldn't think so.
No,
I'm just telling you.
Yes, sir.
About me personally.
Right.
But now I'd be willing to listen to an explanation of this program, which is what this is about.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Number 12.
Number 12 is for information only, found on tab 4. This is the Behavior Intervention Educational Assistant job description. Now, Ms. Kozabuski, is this for a specific school? And if so, which one? Do you know? Or maybe Dr. Sullivan would know.
This is going to be for Cedar Grove Elementary School coming from their federal programs money, and this is for 2 of their EAs. So we have similar at one of our Smyrna Elementary schools, but they're looking for our response to intervention behavior, and this is coming out of their school funds.
Okay. Do we know what I know it's a level 3, Mr. Beaudry. What kind of money are we talking about? Is it a level 3?
It's a level 2, sir.
Level 2, okay.
Yes, sir. So it's around $12 to $14 an hour. It's depending with the experience
Gotcha.
what the employee would bring in.
Okay.
All right. I guess we're ready for number 13.
All right, number 13 is the National Federation of High School Network proposal. Rockville High School, Riverdale High School, Central Magnet School, and Eagleville, Siegel High School, Stewart's Creek High School would like to enter into a no-cost special agreement to the broadcast certain sport games on the NFHS network powered by Play On. Sports using a Pixelot camera system, the use of the equipment and support at no cost to the schools. This contract is for 5 years. A 4th year of the agreement, the schools will receive 10% revenue sharing attributed to the school's content. If the school pays a one-time $1,000 fee at the beginning of the contract, schools will receive 10% revenue share beginning in the first year. Now, if my information is correct, there's only 2 schools that are not requesting this. Is that correct? Oakland and Blackman High School. Is that the only 2 high schools? Laverne and Smyrna, okay. So we got 4 not requesting that.
Any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if, I asked Ms. Michaels today, after I read the agenda, to send me a copy of the full proposal, which she was kind enough to do, so I read it this afternoon a couple of times, and this, I've just talked with our very capable attorney over here, Ms. Page, who says the contract is, she's not necessarily, I don't want to misquote you here, she's not necessarily for or against this. She just said the contract itself was a solid contract, that the contract made sense. I want to encourage everybody, as I know you will do, to read this very carefully. This is a very, to me at least, complicated.
Kind of give you a little overview of this. What they primarily do, they provide that camera. It is a very high quality camera, and they run ads. They run national ads on their broadcasts where they obviously sell them, but they also provide opportunities for the school themselves. Instead of perhaps maybe selling an ad and putting a sign up on the field or putting it up in the gym, they can run those banner ads across there and get a specified amount of money.
Well, let me start again. Just this few lines that you just read, to me, were quite complicated. I certainly don't like the paying money in the $1,000 to begin. I noticed I don't believe that's in there. Well, yeah, it is. It's in the last line. At the beginning of the contract, schools will receive 10% revenue share beginning in the first year. That would assume that they're going to be selling something.
Right.
And they're going to have to sell. And if you read what is it, tab 5? If you read that, you can buy and get on that play on for $12, I believe, a month, or $70 a year. If enough people do that, I would assume you would get some money back. I would like to hear Mr. Tackett come in at, whenever and explain this where Jeff Jordan can understand.
I was really actually set in on that, and let me just say off, I don't have any, if it were me, I wouldn't be doing it. I think you can make money a little bit easier than this right here. But this was, and what he asked me, well, do we want to do this for the entire system? I said, I think we need to let the schools decide who wants to do it and who doesn't want to do it. So apparently these were the schools that stated that they would do it. This has been for years. They started this, back in early 2000s, and now they've gone to this right here. You can make some money on it, but it's no different than the kind of money you can make already by selling ads. I don't know. I don't see it as being, me personally, I don't see it as being a big money maker.
I told Ms. Page I'm interested in why Rockvale decided that they wanted to do this, which is fine. I'm sure the principal studied it, but I'm sure that Mr. Marshall at Oakland also studied it, and he decided not to do it. And I'd like to know why. I bet he's got a good reason.
I think he's got about 700,000 reasons. He isn't blaming both.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm concerned about the length of the contract and not receiving 10% until the 4th year of that. I think there might be some unintended consequences with this that we don't know of, but 5 years is a long time. And, I'm curious as to why Sturk Creek's, with their broadcasting capabilities, they did the Smyrna parade and everything, why they would tie into something like this. So I would really like to have, like Mr. Jordan said, more information on this, and maybe, are we on a deadline as far as approving this? Does anybody know? Is there?
There's no deadline. No.
Okay. So we're not in a hurry?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
No?
We have a, local radio station, and in full disclosure, I worked for them for years. I haven't in years. But WGNS has a long history of doing that, and we have had other local stations that have also done it, but not recently. And some come in, of course, from other schools and other districts and do. And we've also had, and I don't know all of them, but I know Blackman for certain, and somebody else also. Their students came in and filmed the game or broadcast it on YouTube or something locally, and I think they got credit for it. Of course, Blackman might be the most logical because John McCrary is on the faculty, and he is a TV guy, and he teaches that course in electronics and so forth. So we do have that sort of thing that goes on, but this kind of thing where you just kind of plug in a camera maybe and walk away from it and run a few ads up and down, I don't know that this is, and I don't like the 5 years either. I really hadn't even thought about that, but you're right, that's a long time. And well, I guess I've said enough, but I'm nervous about that. I'll just put it that way.
I would if Ms. Michaels could send the rest of what you sent to Mr. Jordan out, if you could send that to the rest of us to review. Thank you so much.
If I may, Ms. Sharp finished. Mr. Chairman, thank you. When I look at what they charge, obviously they make their money off the consumer subscription platform. $10.99 a month, and of course we know that if we're talking, big high school football, there's an awful lot of parents that are going to pay for that subscription to be able to watch or listen to the games or what have you. And I can see a lot of revenue being recognized at that. So just the whole thought of, it not even kicking in to benefit the school in any way other than the fact that they're getting broadcasted until the fourth year. I can't help but wonder how much money they're going to make off of that in the meantime, and if it really is not more than enough to substantiate the cost of the cameras and everything that they're proposing that's what that would pay for. So
they do mention in here, and you all will read it if you haven't already, that they will also do other events, such as graduation and so forth. And while she was talking, I just thought, I'll tell you what, as many people would be as interested in the band at halftime as they would the football game. I mean, and matter of fact, that kind of includes me a little bit. I'd like to see them too. So I think it looks to me like with the structure of this, that there may be money to be made. Maybe, I don't see how it could be too much, but let's just assume that it is. But I'm not sure that our schools are going to get. These are our students, after all. But anyway, I guess we can listen to more discussion Thursday night. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Is there any way we can get more information on this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Is that all right with everybody? I'd like to see a little more information on it. So, if whatever we need to see, please get it. All right. Let's go down to 14, John Coleman.
All right, John Coleman Annex Head Start. Currently, Rutherford County Schools house a Head Start program in around half of the John Coleman Elementary Annex building under a lease agreement held by Mid-Cumberland Head Start. On October 31st, 2019, Mid-Cumberland Head Start passed operation responsibilities to a new interim management, CDI. CDI has requested that RCS enter into a lease with CDI containing the same or similar terms as that were in place with Mid-Cumberland Head Start. It is within the board's discretion to start the process of terminating the lease with a 90-day notice, ending it at the end of the current year or extending a new lease. Mr. Beaudry, can you tell us where we are on recouping the money that Mid-Cumberland owes us?
Yes, sir. I've been working for the last just almost a month now, trying to work with Mid-Cumberland Community Action Agency, who of course were the original tenants or the administrators before this new company. They currently owe us $83,744.90 for back lease from beginning August 1st of 2017, when the lease started, up to August 31st of 2019, where the responsibility for the management shifted to the new oversight company. I've invoiced Mid-Cumberland Community Action Agency 4 times now, and talking with their accounts payable clerk, I believe that according to the accounts payable clerk, we should see reimbursement for the period of time November 30th, 2018 through October 31st of 2019 for a total of $40,371.45. I checked today, that's not arrived yet. But I was assured by Mid-Cumberland Community Action Agency that would be coming soon. However, the amount that accrued before that date, from August 1st, 2017 through October 31st of 2018, amount of $43,373.49. The accounts payable clerk at that agency informed me that that might be a little bit harder because of their fiscal year, pretty much parallels with the federal government fiscal year, even though they're a non-for-profit. I, of course, spoke with Ms. Page about, if this was something that, how we could recoup that money, because obviously that's, I'm not going to get into the legal side of it, but that's where we stand. I have not received one dime yet. I've just been told the money is coming, at least for these last 12 months. I've got an invoice prepared for November, this last month, November 2019. That will go to the new company, oversight company. Looking forward to meeting them on Thursday so I can know exactly who in that agency I need to send the invoice to. But that's where we stand.
So we're still broke.
Yes.
Okay.
I ran around the barnyard to make sure I give you the information, but yes, sir.
So we're sure that the new, whoever's coming in, who's taking over, they're coming Thursday?
That's correct. They're sending a representative. They're coming by plane, so absent a flight delay, they'll be here. I think they're coming from D.C. Not sure.
Anyone else?
Doesn't sound very promising to me. What do you have a feeling, what's your gut feeling say?
I believe that I honestly believe we will recoup the last 12 months with a check, coming forthwith from that agency. Any funds before that period, that would be questionable without legal action. Because the way the accounts payable clerk spoke, we don't know. Because that's outside of that fiscal year for them.
Right.
The lease makes it very clear that even if they tried to say the lack of invoicing resulted in the delay, that the contract specifically says that a lack of enforcement from either party does not prevent strict enforcement of the lease. So the contract is very clear that regardless of what their fiscal year is, that they would owe us all obligations under the contract or they would be in violation. So we have the ability to recuperate that through the legal process if that's what we choose to do, if we do not see the money.
So, Mr. Butler, if I understood the numbers correctly, because it sounded like it was kind of evenly split then, that the part that we think we might actually get from that communication you got was rough 40,000 something, but the total bill is over 80, correct?
That's right. This first bill for the smaller amount, the 40,000, that's for 12 months. The secondary bill, the further back one, is the one for 14 months.
Okay.
From August 1st through October 31st. August 1st of 2017, that month forward through.
If the board did decide to take legal action to pursue collections of those monies, who exactly would we be suing?
We would likely be seeking collection against the Mid-Cumberland agency that ran the Head Start program before. We'd have to take a look at what that looks like, examine the lease contract, explore their corporate structure, and determine who would be ultimately responsible. There may be an opportunity to pursue officers individually. That's something Mr. Reed's office, we would likely work together with them to put together a list of potential respondents to our complaint.
And then, in understanding that we're going to get to meet, hopefully, the new agency or the new ownership or whatever you want to call it, oversight company on Thursday, there's still nothing in place that guarantees we're going to get any payments in the future either. I mean, what does the contract state in terms of what the payment terms are? Is it net 30? Is it?
It doesn't specify, I don't believe. What it was just the contract that the board worked with the original Mid-Cumberland Community Action Agency. It was very generous. It was, just for covering the cost of them being in the building.
Right.
And it breaks down to, it breaks down to an average lease of $3,221 average for those 26 months. So we're talking about 20 cents a square foot for a lease. So that is very generous for a
Yeah,
head start
but,
program.
and I agree, but what I was asking is, what are the specific billing terms? Does the contract not say we'll invoice monthly with payment due 30 days net, or anything like that?
I don't believe it does. On the net due, I'll check.
The only thing that has an actual timeline is it does say that the $100 nominal rent will be paid on a yearly basis, and the rest of the terms are all based on when we're billed for our maintenance costs and the different utilities. So there's not specific invoicing dates. Obviously, if we continued forward, even in a temporary basis with the new company, Doug has already created a chart of how he's calculated this lease, and we would incorporate that into our new lease where we'd have exact dates, timelines, and percentages of how we're actually calculating that out for more clarity for everybody, for them and for us.
In specific payment terms then, based on invoice period? Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm kind of talking out loud here. That is a federal program that's funded through the nonprofit, correct? Or is it a state Head Start?
It's a federal.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It's federal. Okay.
This is common in the other, so speaking to the accounts payable clerk, they're used to paying rent in other locations in the other counties that they're in. So this is, what we're asking for is not new to them to pay for the building space.
And this is our only Head Start program in Rutherford County.
It's the only one that
They have a location, the same people have a location in Murfreesboro.
but they don't have it in our school system.
No, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Let's move along to 15.
All right, 15, facilities use approved for exemption pursuant to Board Policy 3.206, public education schools and institutions, post-secondary education institutions, private universities and colleges, governmental entities or agencies that provide benefits to the Rutherford County School System, or have an in-kind relationship approved by the Director of Schools may request the Board of Education to allow the exemption from use of facilities fee, which the Board may allow or deny based upon the details of specific requests. The following have been requesting a fee waiver: Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, an awareness walk at Central Magnet, Girl Scouts Troops, meetings at Siegel High, Smyrna Lions Club, fundraiser car show at Smyrna High, Smyrna Junior Basketball League 2019-2020 season, games and practices at Thurman Francis Arts Academy.
Any questions on that? All right, facilities.
Okay, facilities, tab 6, Tan Oaks 3 school site, extension of off-site water utilities to the Tan Oaks school site. The construction of the schools on Tan Oaks school site will require certain improvements to the water lines serving the area. Consolidated Utility District has agreed to provide the engineering and design for the off-site water improvements as needed, and acquire the easements needed for the water utilities, and be responsible for the off-site cost of upsizing any lines over 12 inches. The agreement provides for improvements to the water lines needed for the off-site water line improvements to serve the site. Consolidated Utility District will be responsible to maintain the off-site water lines after inspecting and accepting the same. Water lines on the school site will not be governed by the agreement and will be the responsibility of the Board of Education.
Any questions? All right, McFadden.
All right, McFadden School Sunshade, Principal Dr. Clark Blair has requested permission to install a sunshade on the front playground. The sunshade will be paid through PTO funds at a cost of $11,963. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and find it to be acceptable.
Any questions on that one? All right. Let's move on to the building program.
Okay, Mr. Lee.
Okay, we're going to give y'all a brief update tonight on our building program and also our capital projects and kind of where we are. Riverdale High School, basically the contractor is complete. We've released their final funding this month. We're still dealing with a few minor issues, but most all the kinks have now been worked out. We've ordered some additional hardware and things that have come up through the fire marshal, codes changes and things like this, things that we've done in the past. We've ordered some additional hardware, and those things should be in fairly soon. Rock Springs Elementary is complete. We've had very few issues with this facility. What you see on the board is the first overview for the 3-school site at Tan Oaks. The top of the page would be Sledge Road, and the bottom of the page would be going toward Christiana Hoover's Gap. The elementary school's on the bottom left. We're anticipating having the site plan completed enough. We're working with the Rutherford County Highway Department, CUD, Middle Tennessee Electric, all the local utilities, so that we can get the turning lanes and the utilities across. For us, there's also some other utility work that's being done in the same area, and we are meeting every other week to work jointly so that everything is coordinated. The next slide. This is an overview of just the elementary school and the site itself, which was what we would be doing first in our parking area. Next slide. This is an architectural floor plan. I've met with Dr. Sullivan and his staff, and we've gone through our programming and tweaked the rooms and as things change. What you see on the end of each wing, the dotted lines, we have made a concerted effort. Nobody likes portables, especially me, because I get to move them and deal with them every year. We've looked at our new designs, and I said there's got to be a better way. So what we've done, what you see on the dotted lines, we're designing our schools now to be expandable. With the wing system like we have, it's a great layout, but now where we would have to wait till we needed space for 300 or 400 students and build an annex, we're no longer going to have to do that. We're going to be able to add classrooms 4 at a time. So as our enrollment grows, we could come in and add a total of 16 classrooms, which is more portables than we would ever want at a school, but we could do those a little bit at a time. The only thing that we would do on the front end is we'd go ahead and build our cafeteria space large enough because of where the kitchen's located so that we didn't have to expand that later. And we would include the infrastructure, which would be a small cost on the front end, but would save the county and us a lot of headache and a lot of money in the future. So we're going to be looking at this at all of our new future projects on ways that we can be smarter and eliminate portables. Next slide. This is an elevation, just to give you an idea. This is kind of the brick colors we've looked at, but it's comparable to Brown's Chapel, Laverne Lake, but we've made some subtle changes there. We've reduced some of the structure of the canopy in the front to save us some money and those kind of things. Next slide. This is our off-site sewer. The purple line that you see there will be the new 4-inch force main sewer. We would build a pump station that would follow the river. I call it a creek, but technically it's the river, the beginning of the Stones River. We would follow the creek down. Our engineers now are getting the last little bit of survey information so that we can get this information in Mr. Reed's office, and we can begin to start acquiring easements to run that force main down through there. Next slide. This is Laverne Middle. This is another project that we've been working on. We're in the process of completing the design on Laverne Middle. I checked with Dr. Sullivan's staff today, and we have 1,198 students at Laverne Middle. We're out of places to put portables down there, and they're crawling over the top of each other. They've used everything they can do. In that end of the county, there's not space to add, so we're looking at an annex there, similar to what we've done at the other schools. Next plan, it would be 2-story. This would be the first story, would be similar to Oakland Middle. We'd have STEM and science and those kind of things with the gym on the ground floor. Next slide. There's our second floor, there again, very, very similar to Oakland Middle, very few programming changes there. Next. This is the kitchen cafeteria. This is similar to what we did at Blackman. There's a courtyard space that we would fill in, and the gray area at the bottom would be another patioed area that the students could use during warm weather, but that would allow the additional seating space. Next slide. This is just a little visualization. We're also looking at changing our flooring materials. We're working with Mr. Dan Good with the County Insurance Department and OJI. One of the biggest things we have every year is slips and falls during the summers with our custodial staff trying to deal, stripping and mops and floors. We've got to get away from floors that require stripping, a lot of water, re-waxing, a lot of high maintenance. We're going to pay a little bit more on the front end for a higher grade of material, but we'll save money on the back end. We're looking at LVTs. We did some of this at John Coleman, did a little bit more at Rocky Fork Middle. We've done a little bit more at Rocky Fork Elementary as we've seen how they work and how they hold up. We've expanded it. We're doing a lot more at Rock Springs Elementary. In fact, we're going to, this Christmas break, we're going to tear up all the VCT in the hallways of the existing building. We're going to put LVT as part of that project in the main hallway at that school in the existing building. So we're looking at those kind of things. It's new flooring material. Next slide, please. There again, this would be an elevation of what it would look like. There again, very similar to Oakland Middle. Okay, now the next thing we want to talk about is we've been pursuing land on the west side for some time. As you all know, we need a middle school between Stewart's Creek, and we've looked high and low, and we've kind of been struggling. This is a piece of property that was offered recently to us as a review. It's a little over a mile from Veterans Parkway on 96. What you see in blue is the outline boundary of the property. It's 154 acres. This is a picture that I got from the GIS department at the city of Murfreesboro. The dark brown area that you see, this is an aerial photograph from the height of the flood at 2010. I knew, that some of this subdivision had some water issues, and it has water issues in a normal rain, but this is an extraordinary rain. So I knew there was going to be some water issues, which is not unusual. We got some areas similar to this at Tan Oaks. We've got at other properties that we own, we address them. But I wanted you to see that we have looked at this piece of property at the height of the flood to see the areas that we probably thought we may not be able to use. Next slide, John. If you also see the owner of this property has already done a lot of geotechnical work. This is actually a wetland study, which goes to TDEC. The area in yellow is area that has been designated wetlands. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to stay out of it. It could be the soil condition, could be a lot of things, but to be conservative, I've taken that property out of our calculations. This property is 154 acres. There's an additional 25 acres to the north that we could potentially get that has been offered to the present owner of this property. There's approximately 30 acres of wetlands that we would be able to not use probably. They would be green space, use them for practice fields, that kind of thing. You couldn't build a parking lot, couldn't build a building on it, but we could use it for a practice field. We could use it for a grassy area. We could use it for a playground type area. With you being conservative and using 124 acres, I believe we can get a middle school and a high school on this property. I've spoken with Murfreesboro Water and Sewer, and they have assured me they will allow us to tie into the sewer, which is at Veterans Parkway. Here again, we would be looking at doing a pump system. We'd be following down T-dots down in the right-of-way of T-dot alongside 96 to get back up to Veterans Parkway, and I've looked at that with Murfreesboro Water and Sewer, and they're agreeable with that option as well. Next slide. This is a preliminary rough. This is our typical high school, middle school layouts with ball fields, maybe not where they are. But to show that there is enough space here to get all of our facilities in this area. There's actually even down here at the bottom, I've looked at, one of the things the county commission has asked us to do as we've started buying property in the future is to see about buying 3 to 5 acres that could potentially become a fire station, an ambulance station, or something like that. When we get further into design, I believe that there is that space on this property. Unfortunately, there's not enough property for 3 schools. We are in need of a middle school in this area. We have looked at numerous pieces of property. They're either too far for sewer and don't have enough dirt to do our own septic system, or they've got caves, there's been something with everything we've been able to find. Go ahead and go to the next slide. This slide is what the present owner idea of what they thought they could do with the property. This is the property we've requested for everybody to go look at this Saturday. There's presently 2 houses on the property. Now it's a big farm. That's the property that we...
What about the road, 96?
Yes. TDOT has got it's a 5-year plan to widen 96 to 4 lanes from Veterans Parkway all the way to Triune. They're presently intending on starting at Triune and working back toward Murfreesboro. I've talked to the folks at the city of Murfreesboro, and they think that there's a possibility that if the county and the city went together, maybe leaned on TDOT a little bit, that they would flip it and start at Veterans and go toward Triune. That is a possibility.
The right boundary is Veterans.
To the right, yes ma'am, to the east, if you're looking at the property, it would be east. We're a mile back to Veterans Parkway.
Do we have any kind of quote on what kind of money we're at?
I know what the present owner paid for this property. They paid approximately $25,000 an acre for it 3 years ago. They've also done geotechnical study. They've done the wetland study. They've done 3 or 4 studies that we would have had to have done on our own anyway. And I would like to do some additional testing if we were to pursue it. But they have been very forthcoming. They've offered us their reports. I think what they're looking for is for you guys to make if it's something where we decide that this is something we want to pursue, they're going to be looking at you to make an offer for the land, and they would provide us with the actual cost, what they paid for the reports, and they would ask that we would just reimburse them for that cost. So I do know they paid approximately $25,000 an acre, and it would be up to the board to determine what an offer, if you so chose to go down that road, what you would want to offer.
Back to the acreage across the road, what did you say in regards to that?
The 25 acres is just to the north. It's individually owned, and that owner has approached the city offering 25 acres. They didn't give me a number, but it's not $25,000 an acre. It's significantly less. It's something to look at. It would give us a little bit of a buffer. And if it's very reasonable, I would and I don't have a price. I'm trying to work that part to get to that information. But it's significantly less than what they paid for this.
Egress and ingress, how would you, if this property was something the board was to purchase, what
Back up, John. On this particular drawing, we're showing 3 different entrances off 96. If this layout was to remain the same, you could have one that would be athletic. There's quite a bit of road frontage with this piece of property. We could have one central and one to the left. We may end up with only eliminating one, only having 2 in and out, but it would give us far enough space to get 2 in and out, and we'd have both schools on one side of the road. Any other questions on this, or? Okay, John, go ahead, 2 more. All right. This is a project that you're going to see on this coming capital projects, this year's capital projects upcoming. This is the Buchanan Elementary. Presently, we have our own sewer system. It's like a mini sewer system, and we pipe over to the river, and we actually discharge into the river. That system is the original system. We're spending excessive amounts of money trying to keep it operational for this year. When we built Whitworth Buchanan, we extended the sewer to the property line, and the Maples folks came in and they've built a subdivision. They tied onto the sewer and went further up the road. We've worked with Murfreesboro Water and Sewer with their new regulations, no more residential, but schools can tie on. What you see here is a design that has been approved by Murfreesboro Water and Sewer for us to change out that system to a pump station and do a tight line and tie in to the end of the line at the sewer line on the Maples property. Our surveyor, the engineer surveyors now are in the process of surveying this area so that we can get the information to Mr. Reed's office there again to get easements down the highway. But this will be beneficial for us long term. We need to get out of that sewer system, and for what it's going to cost us for that one, we don't need to be in that business anymore. We're having to outsource the actual testing of the system now. Next system. Our next problem is on this year's capital projects, and we believe we've finally hammered out all the details with Murfreesboro Water and Sewer, and I know the school really hopes so. This is Daniel McKee. They are on a sewer system. They're on their own septic tank sewer system. Every time it rains, that system fills up with water, and we have to send pumps over there, and it backs up in the floor. The problem is when that sewer system was put in, the drip lines, I'm going to say somebody went wink, wink, nod, nod, and it's in solid rock, and every time it rains, the ditches fill up with water, and the water from the sewer system can't leach out. It actually backs up into our septic tank, and it overflows into the school, and this has been going on for years, and we need to make this go away. So I've got money budgeted in our present capital projects, and we're hoping to have this out for bid right after Christmas and hope that before the school year is out, we can solve this problem for the school, because it really is an inconvenience for them, because they can't go to the bathroom till we can get them pumped out. Sometimes we have to pump them 2 or 3 times a day when we have excessive rains, and it rains for a long time. And this has been an ongoing issue for years. So that's kind of where we are on that. End of the slides, but a couple other little things I want to just briefly touch on is Smyrna Pd Center. That's the old Smyrna Library that's between Smyrna Middle and Smyrna Primary. And we've been working on this for a while. We're turning it into a professional development training center. We've been reworking the plumbing, the HVAC. It's all starting to come back together. Ceilings and paintings will probably start. We're hoping that this will be something that we can show y'all around the 1st of February. And Dr. Sullivan's staff that's going to be moving down there is chomping at the bit. They're ready to go. So we're hoping to have that finished by the 1st of February. Last thing I want to show you is this is the updated capital projects, which y'all have seen this before. It's still kind of a work in progress. Unfortunately, I can't find anything to take off the list. I showed Mr. Spurlock some pictures the other day. We've been over at Central Magnet, and that project is going out for bid this week. The HVAC system for Central Magnet's going out for bid this week, and we'll take bids right after the 1st of the year. While our engineers were over there digging around under the floor, the water lines underneath that building are the original water lines, and they're galvanized, and most of them are just about gone. So you'll see in the major plumbing thing is replace all the water lines at Central Magnet, and it's coming faster than I would like. I'm hoping they don't call tomorrow with a water leak, but they're that serious.
While we're on the Central Magnet, can you tell me where we are on the locker rooms?
Yes, sir. Also in capital projects, and I believe it's in repurpose. I've got $35,000 in there for central magnet locker room. This has kind of been an ongoing topic of conversation. I went and looked at it last year. They're requesting to add, they've basically in the girls' locker room upstairs, they've got 2 stalls, is basically restroom stalls. And it's the original 2 stalls, and they need probably 6 or 7. I mean, that's my estimation. They need some flooring. They don't have any lockers. The boys have lockers. The lockers are probably not the bigger expense. The bigger expense with central magnet is we'll have to core drill the floor because it's concrete frame. And when we go to redo the plumbing, all the plumbing piping is insulated with asbestos insulation, which means we'll have to hire an outside source to clean it, which is not unusual. We do this anytime we deal with our older buildings. The problem is it's not cheap. We have looked at this. I've put together this budget of $35,000. About $5,000 of that is the asbestos abatement, and that has to be done prior to doing any plumbing. And because it is an old building with concrete frame, it's just more expensive. I mean, it just is. But around $30,000 to $35,000 is what it'll take to get their locker room, if that's what you'd like to deem it, which is what it is. But it's basically to get them enough bathrooms and a clean place to change clothes and a few lockers. But $30,000 to $35,000, it is on the list.
When would you start something like that?
When could we start something like that? If it's approved by capital projects, we could have it ready and probably start it 1st of July. And I don't know that if we got it started soon enough, we could get, the main thing would be to get the asbestos abatement completed before the kids come back to school. And if we knew that it was going to get approved, we could set those contracts and write those contracts and post date them to July 1 and have them ready to go July 1. And we could have all of that part done prior to school starting. I'm ask that you all look through this, see if there's anything new that you have a question on. One thing I would want to end this with, and I won't be too long, LED lighting is at the bottom of our list, and it was on there last year. I asked Middle Tennessee Electric to compare 2 elementary schools and 2 middle schools, basically the same size schools, because we've had experience now. We've put LED lighting in John Coleman, and we put LED lighting in Rocky Fork Middle. So we compared John Coleman, just because it's roughly the same square footage, to Stewart's Creek Elementary. And we also compared Rocky Fork Middle to Stewart's Creek Middle because they're comparable in size. They're all geothermal, all that kind of thing. LED lighting to change out the lighting in the older school would cost us roughly $17,000 for material. And if we subbed it out, which is probably what we would need to do, it would cost us roughly another $17,000 for labor. Typically, they kind of run 50-50. So $40,000. We would get our money back in 2 years per school, which means after 2 years, we're saving $20,000 a year just in electricity, just on LED lighting. It's that significant of a savings. So I'm pumping the LED lighting, and I use Middle Tennessee Electric because they're unbiased. They're not an engineer. They're not somebody trying to sell us on something so that they can get a job and get the job to change out the lights. They're independent, and it was them and TVA, and we're looking at some other things with Middle Tennessee Electric and TVA to save money. I hope to have some other things that we can come back to you in the near future. Other things that we're looking at. We're looking at, there's a possibility they would pay us to remove certain gas equipment and go back with the electric equipment. I'm still working on that. I told them I'm all for whatever they can do to save us money and upgrade our facilities. So everything's on the table with Middle Tennessee Electric and TVA. Thank you.
Mr. Lee, a couple questions for you, if I may. Back to the central magnet, the locker room overhaul. The fact that there are no lockers in the ladies' locker room, and there are in the men's, do we have a Title IX issue? And maybe that might be a question for the attorneys.
The school put the lockers in for the boys, I mean, but the answer to your question is possibly.
Okay. Are there also shower facilities in the boys' locker room?
The boys and the girls, what we're finding as kids today, when I played sports, we all showered in the same locker room the boys did. You know, you had one big room. The children are very few are using the showers at the schools anymore. Neither the boys nor the girls have a shower at Central. They go home and shower. There is a disparity in the number of plumbing facilities for their use.
Okay.
That's why I'm recommending at least 4 additional stalls.
Thank you. And I have one other question on the building program, but this, Mr. Chairman, this may be a question for you. On the new schools, the property for the Christiana area schools off of Epps Mill, everything in the drawings and everything depict the name Tan Oaks, but there has not been an official name designated for these schools, has there?
No, ma'am. I'm just using that. We have to assign something in the system.
Call it.
So that we can do POs and generates, and because it was Tan Oaks before, I'm simple, I just
It was
stayed
the
with
Tan
it.
Oaks Farm or something like that.
Eventually, you all will vote on a name and a mascot and a color and all that kind of stuff,
Okay.
and we'll change it all, but I'm just using that. Like we still call the place at Walter, we call it the Matthews property, and that's the way it's listed in our system.
Got it. And I figured that. I just wanted to be sure. Thanks for the clarification.
Mr. Lee, if you would, first of all, I want to thank you for, because I know many of us have toured the locker room, including yourself, myself also. The showers, as I understand it, in the girls' locker room don't work, and there's no hot water in heaven for years.
They're presently using it as storage because they don't work.
Right, and I think the Coach Turnham, I think he's okay with that. He understands that. He would like to have more restroom facilities, as you alluded to a few minutes ago. But I wanted to ask, and they have I don't know what this means exactly, but they have agreed I'm talking about the coaching staff and parents, to help in some way with painting, whatever. And I think you're aware of that. So, and I think some of these representatives are coming Thursday to talk about this, but I would imagine they're going to be very pleased with this, and I certainly appreciate your attention to it. Is it possible, would it be possible, to not worry about the plumbing at all, just remove it and eliminate the asbestos problem, not even touch that? Because it's okay, it's fine, it's safe. And I'm going by what you told me and what others have told me when we bought that Daily News Journal building, and it cost a fortune to tear the place down because of the asbestos in it. But anyway, that's another story. But would it be possible to just ignore that altogether and just knock them out and have the area for storage?
I'm not, in the 35,000, I'm leaving the showers alone.
Okay.
The asbestos removal is so that we can add the 4 new stalls that they need for 4 new plumbing fixtures, the commodes.
Okay.
I've got a core drill, and we've got to take that waste line and tie it into the existing piping. And we've got to take the new water lines and tie them into the existing piping. And to tie into that existing piping, I got to take the insulation off of it. And we can't. We'll have to pay somebody to do it. Once they take the insulation off of it and it's clean, then we can or the plumbing contractor can do the rest of the work. They can cut the pipe and do all the plumbing part of it. They just can't deal with the insulation.
So he's going to have showers at the end of this, or no?
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
he doesn't really want them.
No, and I'm not in this scenario, based on conversations with them, that they're not using the showers, and I've heard this from other coaches, that they don't need, one shower for 75 kids now is enough, because they said they're all going home and taking showers before they go anywhere. They all got cars. Back then, everybody, mom and dad came, or you went out with your buddies, so you took a shower before you left. They don't do that anymore, and they've both told me they don't care about the shower. Leave it alone, they'll keep it as storage.
Okay, well, I know he has, not to dwell on this, but I mean, he has on the girls' basketball team, and that's not the only people that are using this locker room. If PE is using it, sometimes volleyball uses it, but I believe they have one toilet and 20 girls. Well, now everybody in this room knows that is not going to work. So, and it doesn't work. So, of course, they have to, so if they want to use the facilities, they've got to go downstairs, the full length of the gym into the hallway, which puts them out of touch with supervision, of course. Their coach is not there, and use a restroom down there. Well, that doesn't work very well either. So I understand why he's asking for really a very limited amount of stuff. That building was built in 1949, I believe, and I doubt, and it's solid as a rock, but it needs some renovation at various places. And we have renovated a lot of the building, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
On 2 or 3 different occasions, we've renovated some pretty extensive stuff, and it looks great. The building's whistle clean, and it's okay. But that locker room does need some work and perhaps some other things too. I appreciate your attention to this. I think that's terrific. I hope this board supports it. I think they will, but I don't know that, but I think they will. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. All right, Mr. Spurlock.
The next is the strategic plan. This is supposed to be 2019 to 2022. Our strategic plan, in the beginning, you see our mission statement, our vision, and our beliefs, followed by curriculum and instruction, their vision over the next 3 years, also human resource, and budget and finance, and engineering and construction. I appreciate the amount of time that they put in on this. We've looked it over. We did appreciate Mr. Young calling our attention to two goals being duplicated. We got that taken care of. And we will be looking on Thursday night for a motion to approve this as our strategic plan for the next 3 years. And also Mr. Evans and Mr. Keith
Cartwright.
Keith Cartwright.
Okay. All right, number 19, insurance update.
We included the reports for the 264 and 266 funds, which is the health insurance fund for the employees, as well as the work injury fund. And that's up year to date up until October 31st of 19 for the performance of both those funds. Additionally, we included the enrollment numbers for both certified and classified school employees in the health insurance funds. That's under that page. On the top it says annual enrollment stats. They went to, as you noticed back a couple of years ago, they went to a passive enrollment period where basically if the employee did not want to make any changes to their current health plans and dental plans, that they did not have to go in and actively enroll. It would just roll over with what they had currently. So if they were in the copay plan, they didn't want to change anything, they didn't have to go through any paperwork. It just rolled right on. The risk management department for the county, they set up, of course, over at the Ag Park for a health fair and helped with enrollment. They also had phone lines available for employees to call, and the report that we received in the last insurance committee meeting was very positive, that a lot of the employees took part in the help that was extended to them through county risk management. We, of course, Dr. Anthony, of course, sent out quite a bit of reminders to our employees to make sure that they knew the resources were available for enrollment, and based on the numbers, it appears it worked. So there was a lot of assistance for our employees as they made choices in their health plans. There's a breakdown below on that same page. It shows a comparison between 2019 and 2020. And the number of enrolled employees, certified, classified, and then, of course, on the county side, the county employees over in general fund, solid waste, and the highway funds, or highway department, I'm sorry. And a comparison between 19 and 2020 and the different plans, the enrollments of the employees in each of those plans.
Any questions on that? Okay. Director's update.
Hey, we're going to kind of go over the report card for this 2018-2019 school year. We'll start off with the grade book, which is this form right here, because this kind of gives us a little information that leads us to the report card. As you can see on the report card, we have two groups that will be primarily that we'll be getting some data from. Those are all students, and then we also have the historically underserved students. Those groups are designated as BHN, which is Black, Hispanic, and Native American, economically disadvantaged English learners, and students with disabilities. We also have grade bands. We have grade band 3 through 5, grade band 6 through 8 is our middle school, and grade 9 through 12 is our high school. We also have chronic absenteeism, which is 10% of excused or unexcused absences in a student's school year. Normally that would be 180 days, and of course 18 or greater would be over. And this also can be reduced by the number of snow days that we have. So if, for example, if we had 7 snow days, that would be 173, so it would put us about 17 days that would put us into the chronic absenteeism for students. As we look at the point scoring, making various points is from 0 to 4. 4 is the highest score you can get for a particular area. And as we start in grades 3 through 5 for all students, grades 3 through 5 for achievement was a 4. For our Black, Hispanic, and Native American is 3.5. For our economically disadvantaged was a 3. And for our English language learners is a 3. And for our students with disabilities is 2.5. For as far as achievement is concerned, we do have some things there we need to work on with our students with disabilities, but overall, not bad for our elementary. Now, when we look through at middle school, we look at all students. We had a 3.5 for achievement. When we look at our BHN, our Black, Hispanic, and Native American, we had a 3. When we look at our economically disadvantaged, we had a 2.5. And when we look at our English language learners, we had a 3. And our students with disabilities is 2.5. Once again, we see the issues, and we've started working to address that as soon as we got the information earlier in August with the middle school. Then we go to our high school, and quite frankly, I will tell you, our high school has been a challenge, and we've really, one of the things that we knew going in, and as we looked at our budget last year, you'll recall that the school board placed in the budget, and we got funded for a specialist in our ELA 9 through 12 and a specialist in our math 9 through 12. And I'll tell you, it's been remarkable the feedback we've been getting from our high schools. For a long time, we have gone without a lot of direction in that area, and I think it's probably caught up with us, but I'm very encouraged of what's taking place. But anyway, to go over those scores, we had a 2 for all students in achievement, a 2 for the BHN category, a 1 in the economically disadvantaged, a 2.5 in the English language learners, and a students with disabilities of a 1. So that was one of the areas as far as achievement concerned that we're working on. We've been working on since August, and we feel like it's going to be a great return on our investment. On the chronic absenteeism, all students, we got a 2. BHN, we got a 2.5. Economically disadvantaged, a 2. English language learners, transitional 1 through 4, we got a 3.5. And a student with disabilities, we had a 1.5. The next is the English language proficiency assessment. All students was a 2.5. Black, Hispanic, Native American was a 2.5. Economically disadvantaged was a 3. The English language learners was a 2.5, and students with disabilities was a 1. Now, I put down below this is the graduation, okay? Now, and the graduation works a little bit different here. We know our graduation rate is overall is a 95.6. However, as we look at these subgroups, in order for them to get points on these areas, they have to have a participation rate in our ready to graduate and basically what we're talking about, we have to have a participation rate for all of these subgroups and all of at least 95%. No matter if we make the AMO, the double AMO, we're not going to get any points. And we do have some issues here. I'll start off with the all students. We had 96% participation rate. We got a score of a 3 on that. We did improve. We met our AMO, but we didn't make our double AMO, but we did get a 3, which is not bad. Then we go to the Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. Our problem here, we would have received 3 points for scoring in the 90th percentile or greater had we tested 95%. We did not test 95%. I can tell you when we learned this in August, the first thing I spoke to Dr. Sullivan and his staff, make sure every one of our schools are following up and assessing all students. And if we do that, we're going to take care of that. The next one is economically disadvantaged. This is even more severe. We would have got a 4 had we tested 95%. However, we didn't. We not only made the AMO, but we made the double AMO. So we would have had 4 points there had we assessed 95% of our economically disadvantaged. The English language learners, same thing with them. We would have got 2 points for scoring in the 80th percentile had we assessed 95% of them. So I say all this is some things that we can correct very easily. These are follow-up type things. And the last one, students with disabilities, we did get 2 points there for them scoring in the 70th percentile or higher. Now, how it works is like I put down below there. You got total points. First of all, you take all assessments. That's 60%. There was 17 points there divided by 6 comes out with a 2.833. Then you go to your underserved, historically underserved subgroups. We had 50 points there total with 24 areas, categories, which gives us 2.0833. When you add those together, divide by 2, you get a 2.49. We round up, and if you look on the second page, these are the designations. Overall, we had a 2.5. We are considered what's called an advancing district. Now, there are 4 categories on our school districts. You got marginal, those schools, districts that score a 1.1. You got satisfactory, those that score 1.1 but less than a 2.1. You have advancing, those that score a 2.1 but less than a 3.1. And you have what we want to be next year, exemplary, which is a 3.1 to a 4.0. Now, there are systems that are designated in the bottom 5%, and those are called in need of improvement schools. All right, any questions on the grade book? Okay, let's go to Rutherford County report card. What we see here is what's called success rate. If you look at your grade report, the success rate is not only taking in our achievement, but also works with our value added. But in this case, it's just our achievement. It's not where we want it to be. However, we increased 1.6% from the 2018 report card. When you look at the next one, it refers to the mathematics. We increased that, it's breaking it down by subjects. We increased that by 2.5%. This is not where we want to be, but we increased it by 2.5%. In the English language arts, we increased that by 2.3% from 2018. Once again, it's not where we want it to be, but it is improvement. And then the results from the additional subjects Social studies, we increased that by 0.8%. Like I said, it's not where we want to be, but it was increased. Now, when you go to the next page, what we have is called student growth. What it does is it compares what the student's performance is projected to be by what it actually occurs. You have a number system from 1 to 5, 1 being significantly below expectation, 2 being below expectation, a 3 at expectation, a 4 above expectation, and a 5 being significantly above expectation. Overall, student growth as a system, we were a level 5. In English language arts, we were a level 5. In mathematics, we're a level 5. Now, we celebrate that, and we thank all the teachers and working with their students, but, you know, we want both achievement and growth. All right? Any questions on the student growth? All right, the next one is called chronic absenteeism, what we talked about. And it gives our decrease. We were looking for a decrease in here. We were 8.9% chronically absent students out of school. That is a decrease in 0.3% for the 2018. The in-school suspension did increase by 0.7%, but I will tell you the reason why it increased is because our out-of-school suspensions decreased by 1.3%. Our expulsions increased by 0.1%. Our expulsions is 0.4%. I will tell you that's probably one of the lowest one in the state of Tennessee. Okay, the next page. First of all, any questions on the chronic absenteeism? Okay, our next page is the ELPA test, the English Language Proficiency Test. As you can see here, our progress on English Language Proficiency increased by 0.5%. And quite frankly, that we discovered something in this process. We were kind of like throwing a dart at a wall and not knowing where it was going to hit. We had no assessment to benchmark to see where our kids were. So that Dr. Sullivan, I think he brought it before, and we purchased this back in, was it in September? And so we're benchmarking them. So we know, we're not taking a chance, we know where they are. I will say hats off to these teachers and these students not having any kind of instrument in order to gauge where they are and what they need to work on. So they did a fabulous job. I'm very excited about what occurs going forward. So there was improvement there. Any questions on the English language proficiency assessment? All right, ready to graduate. Okay, what that means is the following. A senior, you can be ready to graduate if you make a 21 or higher on the ACT, if you make a 1,060 or higher on the SAT. Now, we all know that not everyone is going to hit that benchmark, but you could also take 4 EPSOs and pass them. Now, what is an EPSO? It can be a dual enrollment, dual credit, advanced placement, IB, Cambridge, you know, those kind of things. Now, the third thing, or actually the third thing you can do is you can have 2 EPSOs and 1 industry certification, and you would meet ready to graduate. And the last thing, we don't really do that here, but it's a 31 on the ASVAB AFTQ. You make a 31. The reason why they brought that in is because a lot of our rural counties, they didn't have that many AP courses. They didn't have that many dual enrollment courses. We're very fortunate we do, and they added that in there. But as you can see, we increased that by 6%. That's a pretty large increase. I'm expecting even more, so going forward, okay? And then the last one is our average ACT composite. We increased that by 0.2%. That was a 21 average. Any questions on ready to graduate? All right, let's move on over to the graduation rate. All right, our graduation rate was 95.6%. That increased by 0.3% increase. Our dropout rate was 2.8%. That's a decrease by 0.5%. Our post-secondary enrollment. Now, one of the things I started looking, it did decrease, and I wanted to find out exactly why. Well, when you look at the post-secondary enrollment, it includes all graduating seniors that go to either a technical school, enroll in a technical school in Tennessee, a community college, or a four-year university. It does not take into account any universities, any technical schools, community colleges outside the state of Tennessee. We need to increase this. We went down by 2.2%. We need to increase this. This is a little bit of some of the things that we've got to work on there. All right, also, any questions on the graduation rate? Also, and we're not going to go over it now, but I also gave you some school systems to do some comparison. You will see as you look through there, there's some we're doing better. There's some that we're in some areas we can do, they're doing better than us. Knox County, Hamilton, Clarksville, Montgomery, and I think that's it. Yeah, those three, Knox County, Clarksville. I strongly encourage you to take a look at that. One of the things that I think we're doing this year and that we've really bought in is we're building capacity in our schools. And I can't say enough about our instructional department. When you look at our instructional department, compared a system of 47,000 students, and I don't know how many teachers, Dr. Anthony, give me a ballpark figure. Look, I knew she knew that, okay? With that amount of work, with the small amount of instructional department we've got, kudos to you guys. You do a great job, and I appreciate all that you do, and that includes the principals of the schools, the teachers, and definitely the students and the parents. We expect our best. We want to be an exemplary school. We've been an exemplary school. We will be an exemplary school. It's different. Case in point, for example, let's just say that I was the director of schools at, I'm going to throw this out here, Hawkins County. I wouldn't have a lot of these subgroups. So all those points would go over into the all category. So we're all, this is a moving target, so to speak. I think right now, and Dr. Sullivan and I have talked about this, our emphasis is not only to improve in every grade band, but we need our high schools to take that step forward, and I believe they will. They will answer the call. I think we're giving them what they need. Any questions? I know y'all would like to have about an hour of that, right? With PowerPoints and everything.
Please do. All right, is that it? Okay. Ms. Johnson, ELN?
I'll have something Thursday.
Okay. Mr. Hodge, Federal? Okay.
I'll have something Thursday.
Any general discussion? All right. We're adjourned.